This one... March 7th. Oh god, I've done forgot the voices. I should have went back and listened a little bit. I did give Marnie more of a gravelly, maybe nasally voice, and then Leaf I gave a more as feminine as I can go, but my voice is kind of already borked today. But how are you doing, Haley? I hope everything's going great. Let's turn this down a little. We'll turn it down for me, but turn it up for you guys. You'll have to let me know if that is too loud. It's not even getting near the yellow, so I think it should be fine. I'm sure she'd be happy to hear that. You'll have to let her know later. I guess I'll clean these things up then. I take our bowls to the sink and Leof, not Leaf, Leof, trails along behind me like a lost puppy. But you have hardly touched your food, Marnie. I'm not hungry. Tut tut, that's no good. You will run out of stamina if you don't eat everything up. Moreover, your grandmother's cooking is so good it seems a shame to waste it. And why don't you have the rest, if you want it so much? Well, I wouldn't not want to eat your food from under your nose, but if you insist. Leof takes my bowl of half-finished porridge gratefully and all but skips back to the table, a bright smile on her face. Thank you very much. You're so predictable. So much for caring about my health. Was this all a ploy so she could eat my leftovers? Leof might be a noble knight, but she's something of a glutton. Delicious. Well, I mean, back then you probably don't know where your next meal was coming from. She's thinking from a privileged perspective. I don't know. But with that in mind, Leof may end up getting fat due to that kind of mindset in a world where food isn't that scarce. The porridge is nice and thick, but it is sweet too. Sugar is a godsend, and these strawberries are so plump and juicy. Hey, be careful, why don't you? You've got some porridge on your cheek. Where? Here? No, right there. Leof tries to lick the stray bit of porridge off her... Leof tries to lick the stray bit of porridge off her cheek with her pink, groping tongue while I wash her bowl in the sink. The sound of running water drums against the metal basin in the sink. It's kind of relaxing, I guess. I rub the sponge back and forth across the circumference of the bowl, scrubbing away any strange bits of porridge. I kind of feel like an archaeologist trying to buff up old Grecian vase for display in a museum. Anyway, what do you want to do today? Do you have anything in mind? Leof ponders, leaning back in her chair. There's still a bit of porridge stuck to her cheek. I would like to go to the back of the forest again, but I doubt that would be a wise idea. Excuse me. You look dead on your feet, my dear lady. I doubt you would be up to any vigorous exercise, and I do not want to tire you out needlessly. Moreover... Leof massages her right shoulder with her left arm. She rotates her injured shoulder a few times, wincing. I am still recovering from the wound I sustained yesterday. While I can still hold the sword, I have no real desire to pick a fight with anybody. I was able to escape yesterday, but I fear today I would not be so lucky. Not to mention if you ran into your brother. I mean, the only real reason I think she would have to go back is to rescue her brother or try to find a way back to her time or something. But other than that, she's probably best off just healing. I mean, her brother's been around wandering the forest as a lost soul all this time for 1,000+ years. He can wait till she heals. I want to help if I can, but... Leof shakes her head. Well, never mind. I trust there will be time for that. Leof doesn't specify who it is exactly she wants to help, but the true meaning behind her words is almost immediately obvious. Of course, she's talking about her brother, Edmund. We still don't know what strange spell he's under, if he's under a spell at all. Now, I have no doubt Leof wants to help him. But what can she do? Charging into the woods with an injured arm would be nothing short of suicide. It would be better if we both got some rest, but I don't want to sit idly by. It has been such a long time since I've been able to experience this world and all its delights. I think it would be a shame to waste such an opportunity. And how about this? I finish washing the last of the porridge residue from Leof's bowl. I set the dripping piece of crockery to one side and dry my hands on one of Grandma's many kitchen towels. This one is blue and white, embroidered with birds. Then I turn back to Leof. Finn Chapel was rather new to you, right? Indeed. Though I have been to the settlement before, it is quite different this time than it was in my time. And why don't I show you around? It's not like there's much to really show, but there's a few fields and a farm, and I guess the church is kind of interesting. I can't promise it'll be much fun, but maybe I should look on the bright side. Finn Chapel is still a relatively dull, boring village deep in the middle of nowhere, but at least I'm not on my own. Now that's something to be thankful for. I was trying to be thankful at least, but there's really nothing here, huh? I sigh and kick a loose pebble with the tip of my trainer. No matter how hard I try, it's hard to put a positive spin in this piddly little village. Everything in Finn Chapel is small, from the primary school to its narrowed streets to the houses themselves. Finn Chapel's staggering population of 500, give or take, is largely comprised of OAPs, and the houses reflect that. Hey Urgia, how you doing? I'm doing okay. Most of the brick buildings that line the road are single-story bungalows built for elderly couples too ancient to hobble up flight of stairs. Yeah, we reading a visual novel, Yuri. Graham's impractical, huge house sticks out like a sore thumb. At least it would if it wasn't buffered from the rest of Finn Chapel by a sprawling garden and a twisting, turning driveway lined with oak trees. I meander down the street aimlessly, my hands shoved in my pockets. We've passed the shut-up school about 3 times now. Though Leof was excited at her first sighting of it, I think it dates back to the 1920s. Her initial enthusiasm has worn off. She's starting to get bored of this village after a day. What does the future hold? The prognosis isn't a positive one, I can tell you that much. Sorry for dragging you out here. I hope you wasn't too bored. Oh no, I think this village is very interesting. Leof smiles bravely, but I think she's maybe putting on an act. Maybe she's afraid of too much negativity will hurt my feelings. You can be honest with me, you know. I don't care one way or another. I'm not that keen on Finn Chapel either. I live in Grimsby, which is a town by the sea. There's way more shops and houses and public transport. Even if the stink of fish guts is pretty pervasive around the harbor, particularly during the summer. If we were back in Grimsby, I could show you some of the museums or the shops. It's not like London, but at least there's some stuff to do here. I bet you'd like that more. Grimsby does sound interesting, but I'm rather fond of this village too. It might be small, but it's still bigger than many of the settlements from my own time period. The woman at the corner shop, as you termed it, was very friendly too. I don't know if friendly was the right word for it. She seemed more bemused than anything by her encounter with Leof, than not that I can blame her. We stopped by the corner shop a little while back, mostly because, well, I wasn't sure where else to take Leof, and I thought that maybe a Red Bull would wake me up. Leof was intrigued by the selection of snacks on display, particularly the Space Raiders, but she was particularly taken by the coolers in the back of the dingy store filled with frozen fruit pies and tubs of ice cream. Look at this, Marnie! It's incredible! When I put my hands in the strange box, I can feel the chill in my fingertips. Could there be slices of winter stored inside this device? It must be magic. I tried to explain, my face turning red as the woman at the chill stared at us. No, it wasn't magic, it was just a refrigerator. I brought Leof a Solero in the end, mostly to shut her up, but her curiosity still hasn't been abated. Cute. Such a cute picture. This is quite refreshing. Leof licks her mango ice cream with a contented smile. I do have to wonder how it keeps its shape, though. It's a warm day, and the sun is high in the sky, yet this ice cream, as you called it, is still cold. I already told you, it's cause of it was stored in a fridge. A fridge? Yeah, that's what the thing in the shop with that was that amused you so much. She kept putting her fingers in and out of it, and then giggling, just like a little kid. We used to keep them, we use them to keep food cold, so it doesn't go spoiled or off when it gets hot. Is that so? Leof examines her Solero as though it's a curio in a museum. That is ingenious. We used to preserve food by salting or smoking it back in my day. Only wealthy people could pack food in ice during summer months. I failed to see any ice in that refrigerator, though. How did it keep everything cold? Electricity. Electricity? Electricity is, never mind. I already understand how electricity works myself. How am I going to explain that to Leof? She should just accept that it works like everybody else, without questioning the hows and whys. Though I'm sure if I paid more attention in physics class, I'd have a better understanding of the world around me. I never realized how ignorant I was of all these day-to-day things until I met Leof. I think we've seen all there is to see around these parts. There's not much else to go, but we could stop by the church. Oh yes, what a good idea. Leof licks the last bit of her half-melted Solero from its wooden stick, then drops it into a nearby dustbin. You know, lightning? We found out how to make it and harness it. Yeah, we're all wizards. We harnessed the electricity from the sky. We killed Odin and took his powers. And, like, we use the god's powers just to keep ice cream cold. Would very much like to see what modern churches look like. There were monasteries and abbeys back in my period. Oh, of course, but they were all quite somber, sober buildings made of stone. I hope that churches nowadays are more intriguing. What did she expect to find at Fanchopel's local church? A merry-go-round and a ball pool? She's hoping for fun. She'll be sorely disappointed. You say the church is this way, my lady? It's down this winding road past all these trees. Fanchopel doesn't have much for going for it architecturally, but the god does it have a lot of trees. That's the only thing that isn't chronically short supply around this place. Ah, please, one moment, my lady. What is it? You didn't get stung by something, did you? No, it's not that. I just need to adjust my shoes. Leof pauses, balancing on one leg as she struggles to undo the silvery buckle binding her shoe to her foot. And Leof's new shoes, like the rest of her new clothes, were pilfered for Aunt Lita's old things. Fortunately, Aunt Lita's old shoes fit her perfectly. There shouldn't be any problems with them, but that shoes do have a slight of silver of a heel, and Leof keeps stopping to fiddle with them. Are you alright? I am fine. I apologize for being a burden, my lady. I am not accustomed to walking in shoes such as these. Fine though they are, I think I still need a bit more practice. I did not imagine when we first set off that this church would be so far away or that paths would be so uneven. Tell me about it. My grandparents used to take me and my cousins here every Easter, and it was such a slog. You'd think they'd build the church a little closer to the center of the village. I wonder why it's all the way out here. Maybe they wanted to lay the dead to rest away from the noise of the living. Lying beneath the shade of the old oak tree submerged within the soil. It does not sound like a particularly bad way to go. If that's the case, it was very thoughtful. But it seems like a bit of a waste. It's not like Van Chapel's a metropolis. It's not like the citizens would make enough noise to raise the dead. Though now that I think about it, Van Chapel's church is more than 700 years old. So many people have been buried around the church's sprawling grounds, there are probably more skeletons in the soil than there are living, breathing in Fan Chapel proper. If a zombie apocalypse were to occur, Fan Chapel would be overrun in minutes. I doubt the geriatrics in their bungalows would be able to put up much of a fight. Sometimes churches are constructed in the outskirts of settlements. Despite being important places of worship, graveyards bring bad luck. And diseases, too. Maybe that's why. Van Chapel's church, the original one anyway, was constructed only a century or so after the Black Plague decimated Europe. Perhaps whoever built this church was afraid if they put it too close to the village, they'd run a risk of infecting the villagers if any diseased corpses were laid to rest. Hi, Susu. Thank you for the lurky. Pennington in, no audio cuz with family, but want to say hi. Oh god, does Leof know about the Black Plague? Probably not. It depends if it happened after. Sippies. It's like I really want to feminize my voice, but I keep practicing whenever Monty's at work, and then I get like I can feel my vocal cords loosening up, and I'm able to get a better range, and it gets smoother. And then Monty will have like 4 days off, 3 days off, or whatever, and then I can feel my vocal cords seize up, and then by the time she goes back to work, it I don't have the flexibility anymore. Oh god, she doesn't. It happened 500 years after her time. Oh god, the horrors. That if she started learning history to figure out what she missed. Well, it's not like I can go back in time and ask. I've only met 2 people in my short little life who come from the distant past, and one of them wasn't exactly talkative. Well, never mind, we're nearly there now. I trudge down the path. Leof hurries along my side, her ponytail bobbing. The ground is congested with weeds and yet more stinging nettles. I make sure to give these a wide berth. Fruit-bearing trees are dotted here and there, half hidden by the oaks and birches. Branches laden with ripe red berries sway gently in the breeze as though trying to tempt us. Wild flowers grow in the tall grass, and clusters of mushrooms are stacked one on top of the other beneath some of the tree trunks. There really is a lot of nature around Fan Chapel. It is as though the village itself is being swallowed by plants. Leof closes her eyes and inhales deeply, savoring the rich scent of soil. Many years have passed, but it remains as scenic as I remember. She crouches, eyes shining, and reaches out to a damp cluster of mushrooms growing at the base of a tree. I wonder if I could eat these. They do look rather nutritious. Why are you thinking about food at a time like this? You've eaten so much already, and it's only 11 o'clock. You can't be hungry. I'm not famished by any means, but surely a small snack wouldn't hurt. As your knight, I need to keep up my strength so I can intercept any enemies who may try and attack us. You were asking if these were edible. If you're a warrior that traverses the land, you should know instantly if they're nutritious. If not, only eating those will make you delirious and poisoned. So it's just the wording. It's like, do you know? Don't eat strange stuff. Yeah, Leof, do not eat random mushrooms. You're going to end up poisoned, and then this week, Marnie's not going to be able to carry you back home. At least they won't be too far from the graveyard. That was a little dark joke. A little too dark, I think. Whatever. As your night... okay, I just read that. I think you're just trying to excuse your own gluttony. Why are you so hungry? You were asleep for 1,000 years. That is exactly why I want to sample as many dishes from this area as I can. Being unable to eat for 13 centuries is a miserable thing indeed. I would not even wish that upon my worst enemy. Do you want to stop for a snack? If I may. No, you may not. I nudged Leof in the side with the tip of my shoe, and she almost overbalances. You can't just eat food off the ground. It isn't sanitary. But I used to do that all the time when I was younger. And did that ever have any unfortunate outcomes? Well, once I ate rather sour berries, and they made my stomach churn most horribly. My skin went cold and clammy, and then I vomited. But I was alright in the end. I only had to lie in bed for a week. Only a week, she says. I shake my head. I think I can see why your brother was so adamant against you becoming a knight now. Do you have any common sense? I like to think that I'm reasonably intelligent when I get hungry. But when I get hungry. Your own greed wins out, doesn't it? At least she's honest about it. Well, don't worry. We can go back and get something from Gran's in a couple of hours. I think she has some cold ham in the fridge. And some of Moira's homemade bread. You can't absolutely eat. You absolutely can't eat those mushrooms, though. A dog might have pissed on them, or they could be poisonous. But... there are no buts. Now get up, and let's keep going. Oh, alright then. You are my lady, and it is my duty to obey you, but... Leof casts one last lingering look at the mushrooms before she finally gets to her feet. It is a pity. Those mushrooms look delicious. I rolled my eyes. Leof might be a brave knight, but her survival instincts are surprisingly poor. I'll have to keep an eye on her in the future. I don't want her getting food poisoning. I have enough things to worry about already. Most of them Leof related, but without her poor self-control making it even worse. At least they wouldn't be too far from the graveyard. This is the church you spoke of. How strange. I had hoped the church might be a bit more... exciting. Modern, I suppose, but it does not look very dissimilar to churches in my day. It is bigger, yes, and these stone carvings on the exterior are grander than anything I am accustomed to. A master stonemason must have been commissioned to work on this edifice, and yet... I suppose no matter how much time passes, some things simply do not change. Leof, damn it, resist the allure of the mushrooms. We're gonna have to babysit this 1,300-year-old girl. The church is sequestered away in a small grove surrounded by trees. The gentle summer breeze ruffles the grass at our feet and leaves on the trees they shimmer. Though Friend Chapel is rather small, unremarkable village. I don't know why I couldn't read that word. Unremarkable village, the church is unusually large. It's made of stone and it has a rather tall tower that can be seen for miles around. The tower tilts ever so slightly to one side as though it's trying to peel away from the main body of the building. Bran told me that was the result of a freak earthquake back in the early 1900s when her mother was still a young girl. There's a large stained glass window inlaid in in the side of the church. The glass window shimmers with rainbow colors as the warm sunlight filters through it. I think the window was added a few centuries after the church was initially built. It looks a little out of place, but it's no less beautiful. I never liked going to Easter and Christmas Eve church services here when I was a kid, but I love gawping at the window. It looks almost like the one in Notre Dame. Not that I've been to France, I just know the cathedral from the Disney film, but a little less extravagant. Oh no, ads. Okay, I'll take a pause. Didn't really scare me. I turned up the sound of the alerts, but the other one's actually louder, I think. The delay, they're a huge delay. Okay, so you didn't miss much. We were just talking about the church. Apparently the windows were replaced at a later date, which makes it look out of place, but she still thought it was really beautiful. Now I was also trying to figure out the scary violin, because it wasn't very loud. How loud was it to y'all? I'm afraid to mess with the, how loud it was. I turned it to 150. Maybe I can do it this way. One moment. But speaking of which, let's save. Options. Music volume. Sound volume. And that way I can turn it up. The volume to my headphones specifically. I hope y'all ain't getting the sound notifications twice though. I have it to monitor and output. But I also have desktop audio being captured, so that means that y'all are hearing it twice. Possibly. Watch your ears. I'm about to play sound alert. Yeah, I don't hear anything whenever I have it turned off. Hold on, watch your ears one more time. I'm gonna play the other one. No, it won't let me. Hold on. Gotta pull up my phone. My phone is so slow. I've been having so much trouble out of it. Well, I guess we'll continue while it loads. The church is decorated with stone carvings of gargoyles, their face half worn away thanks to the passing of time. I have to crane my neck to look at all of them, and the harsh sunlight gets in my eyes, but I can make out a few details here and there. Some of the gargoyles have curved horns, just like rams, while others have sharp teeth and claws like dragons. A few more look like knights and soldiers, and one looks like an ailing man being pressed between them, the stone walls in the old church. But welcome, Zarks. Thank you for the redeem. I didn't think I thanked you. A graveyard surrounds the church, and some of the moss-flecked tombs spill into the thicket of trees around us. Head of the headstones are crumbled and weather-beaten, but the others look relatively new. The stone angel missing half of her face stands proudly holding a banner above her head. It looks like she's guarding a particularly fancy group of headstones that have laid flat against the ground, surrounded by steel railings to dissuade vandals. A few other headstones are shaped like crosses, while others look like open books. Most of the headstones, of course, are fairly standard. They jut vertically from the ground like moss-stuttered teeth. I examined a few of the names of the headstones nearest to me. Dinah Pruitt died before her time. Clovis Howard, aged 63, and Florence Howard, aged 85, wife of the above. Molly Wetson, she shall be missed. Miriam Spicer, now in the arms of God. M.C. Reynolds, only 3 years old. Alistair McDougall and his wife, Catherine. I wonder if I search long enough whether I'll find Elizabeth Bradshaw among these bodies. She must have lived in Fen Chapel at one point in her life, but maybe she found this too small village stifling, even by 19th century standards. I wouldn't blame her if she decided to move away. Who knows where her body lies now? Her old bones could be resting anywhere in England, or even further afield in France or Italy or America. I suppress a small shiver. Graveyards always make me feel gloomy. It's just a little grim, isn't it? Knowing that you're trapezing over decades of old bones stacked on top of each other like a lasagna. As a goth, I should probably be more into graveyards than I really am, but I don't see the appeal. They just make me feel kind of down. It's interesting, I suppose, wondering what sort of lives the likes of Clovis Howard, now there's a name, and Florence Howard, wife of the above, led when they were still alive and kicking. It's not like I'll never know. I can't go back in time and ask them. They died back in 1872 and 1906, respectively, and God, imagine living for 34 years after your husband had bit the bullet, especially in the 1800s. What sort of miserable existence is she bereaving the widowed Florence have? Her life can't be been a walk in the park. Not that I know, of course. I'm just guessing, because what else can I do? Maybe Clovis was a compulsive gambler and an alcoholic, though he doesn't sound like the sort, with a la-di-da name like that. Perhaps his wife was glad to be shot of him, and after he died, she was finally afforded the freedom she never had in life. What if? Ugh. This is why I don't like graveyards. It's too depressing. So what do you think? I am not entirely sure. Being here feels comforting in a way, I suppose. The world has changed so much since I was born, but this building, it feels like a relic of the past, just like me. I was beginning to wonder whether I have any right to exist in the world, which is so different from my own. But this church is still here. It is outdated, but nobody has tried to tear it down. It gives me hope in a way. It almost feels as though I have found a kindred spirit. Too bad this pile of old stones is, it's not like it can talk to you. Perhaps not with words, but everything has a story to tell, from the plants to the buildings to the stars in the sky. Alright, Pocahontas. Pocahontas? It's a Disney film. No, wait. I pause, embarrassed by this incredible gaffe. Curse you, Disney, giant multimedia mogul that you are, for mutating history so. Pocahontas was a real person, I'm sure, I think. I don't know when she lived exactly, but she was a Native American who ended up in England, and, I was trying to catch a video of my daughter because she's sitting there dreaming and her tail was just a wagging. And she stopped as soon as I hit record. Leof is looking at me with blank, uncomprehending eyes. I bet this story is all white noise to her. Back in her day, the world was a lot smaller and much of it was unexplored. She might have a passing familiarity with France and Spain and Germany, but I doubt she knows or where America is. I'll have to show her a map later. That stuff doesn't matter. It's ancient history. We are talking about this church, right? Yes, indeed. Do you know how old it is, Marnie? I think Graham said it was built back in the 1300s. The 1300s, is it? That must be over 700 years old. It's quite amazing that it still stands to this day. Hey, Ak, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. We're still in this game. It said it should have taken, I think it said like 2.5 hours or something, and we're now on like hour 4, but I think it's more because I keep pausing, talking, and stuff. And apparently there's a sequel. Doing awesome, that's good to hear. Take me another drink right fast. I have been catching up on it here and there. On the visual novel? Honestly, this is one of those games that's very chill. It's very character building instead of world building, I think. Feels like stuff has happened and nothing has happened all at the same time. But I had a bit of a hell of a time this past week because of yeah, so I don't lose where you are at this in the stream. Yeah, I mean we encountered a knight that tried to kill us, escaped to a clearing through a portal in a tree, found this girl Leof to our right. And she is a warrior from 1300 years ago. We've been learning bits about her. She doesn't even know what potatoes are, because apparently that was a newer thing that came to the Americas from South America, I think we said. But yeah, our water heater kept tripping the breaker, and I had to change the thermostat on it this week. And I may have given myself food poisoning because I was eating bread and didn't see the mold in it. I feel fine though. I felt little run down and sick, nauseous, but I don't know. I feel fine though. Feeling a good deal better. I'm actually getting hungry now, but I'm sure it's been renovated a bunch over the years. I don't know how much of the original church is still left. That stained glass window is a new addition, and I think the tower is too. But why are you acting so impressed? You're even older than this building. I know, I'm just being silly. I just thought as everything is so new to me, the churches would be the same, but it seems I was mistaken. The way people worship God has not changed for centuries. I wouldn't be so sure about that. What do you mean? I think organized religion is on its way out, at least in England. I don't have that with blueberry muffins. What, mold and stuff? I actually made Monty blueberry muffins for her lunches. Oh, you have done that with blueberry muffins. Yeah, it's just kind of hard to miss sometimes, but I can imagine with blueberry muffins too, the dark spots from the blueberries. But yeah, I mean, a little bit's not going to hurt me, but apparently I had been eating on this for a few days. Just having peanut butter sandwiches every so often, and I don't know how long the mold had been there. But I definitely started feeling sick for the several days, and I think that was the reason why. This old church used to hold services every day, or so Gran said, and a dedicated priest lived here around the year. That doesn't happen anymore, though. Not enough people to go to church, so it wouldn't be cost-effective. Nowadays, a priest holds services here every other week. He's responsible for a bunch of churches in the area, and he travels between them. I'm not religious myself, sorry Aunt Joyce, but being a traveler priest does sound like an interesting career path. I bet it'd be kind of like being a traveling salesman, and only instead of selling shoes, you'd be selling the word of the Lord to all the old dears who fill up to trudging to church every other Sunday. We may have the internet now and TV, and there are so many ways to occupy our time with most young people don't think about God. It's mostly the older generation that still care about this stuff, and they're not always fit enough to actually go to church. So, religion has fallen by the wayside. How strange. So many wars were fought over it, and so much blood was shed, and yet... A small sigh. Did those people die in vain? I can't say. All I know is things have changed. They really have. But though the majority of no longer revere God as they once did, this building still stands. I am sure that the past will never be forgotten, not when buildings like this still stand. Yeah, how long do you think those buildings will last? I mean, I'm going to stay away from this subject because I have my own opinions about religion. But I guess that's always the few things. You don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, you don't, all that stuff. Honestly, you say that, and then, back when Monty used to work at her old job, I would wait in the parking lot for her, and constantly would have people walking up to me trying to sell me the word of God and stuff. It was always so awkward, and it was like, dude, I don't want to talk about this. You just leave me alone. Leof looks up the church ponderously, her eyes misty and far away. It must have taken a tremendous amount of manpower to build something this intricate. I felt so cynical. I could always say that their efforts were meaningless. The faith which sustained those workers no longer exists within the heart of the common man, but the proof that their belief and dedication remains, I suppose that makes it all worthwhile. Or does it? I don't know, you tell me. Hehe. Leof tears her eyes away from the church, old, crumbling exterior, and shoots me a sheepish smile. I apologize, my lady. You did not come here so you could hear me talking to myself. I doubt my thoughts are worth listening to. I was born to fight, not to think. No, it's fine. I don't mind. Honestly, I would love hearing her going on and on about it. Because of, it gives you a glimpse into the mindset of the old time, and it does get you thinking about, how things have changed. People were so dead fast in religion and just all this different stuff. Truly? Yeah, listening to you talk is interesting. More interesting than the delights Finchapel have to offer at any rate. I never really thought about this church like that before. To me, it was just an old, draughty building. I hated being dragged here by my grandparents when I was a kid. I always complained. I must have been a nightmare to deal with. I never thought the people who built this place or what it meant to them. It didn't cross my mind. Maybe I was being self-centered. You are not self-centered, my lady. That is perfectly natural. You were born in this current century, so of course you would think of the present. Why would you waste your time worrying about the fates of who had died centuries before you were even born? You belong to this world, unlike me. That means you have the luxury of thinking about the future. I, meanwhile, have been left behind. Flee off. I frown. Maybe bringing her here was a mistake. She seems happy enough to examine Finchapel's streets, cooing over the school and the post office and the corner shop, all modern inventions that she's unfamiliar with. When it comes to the church, however, she seems unusually maudlin. Maybe it's the old, because it's old building and these old graves remind her how very ancient she herself is. She has no real place in the modern era. Just like this old church, which is seeing less and less use as the years wear on. One day, I'm sure the last of the parishioners will be buried here alongside Florence and Clovis, and then these doors will close for good. The church will be overgrown with ivy, and then these old stones will come tumbling down in a ruinous heap. But that day isn't here yet, and I don't want Leof to concern herself with it. Don't worry so much. But how can I help but worry? I have been trying to put it in, from my mind, yet I know deep down that I do not belong here. Leof's fingers rest against the nearby graves, discolored by the rain and covered in fine layer of moss. I should be resting beneath the earth like these bodies buried here. Maybe you should, and maybe you are from another era, but I won't leave you behind, I promise. You remember what you said last night, right? What did I say? You said that you were more than just my knight, and I believed you. I know we haven't been known each other for very long, but you're also my friends, and friends don't leave their friends behind. At least I don't. Not that I've had so few people I could call my friends in my time. I have no idea what I'll do with Leof when my parents come to pick me up, but I'll try to figure something out. I've known her for less than a day, but I do care about her. She saved my life back in the forest. I'd like to help her in return. I don't want her to be lonely. That's the worst fate anybody can suffer from, even more so than being buried 9 feet deep beneath the earth like Clovis Howard. Am I the only one thinking of a possible solution for both Leof and Gran? Explain to the Gran about everything that's been going on with her, about the truths, the fairies, the magic, the everything, about her being a warrior from 1300 years ago. And she would probably be the only person right now that would believe the story. And then have Gran house her. She used to be a teacher. Have her teach Leof about the modern everything. Teach her how to read, how everything. So she'd have a place in the world. And who knows, maybe Leof could even become a historian or something, teaching about the old ways, or even better yet, teach the world about magic, which could bite her in the butt because of the world doesn't know magic exists. So she could end up in a very bad place. But it still leaves options. Maybe find pupils, teach Marnie about magic, and maybe in the future they could even free Edward from his curse somehow. I glance about the interior of Finchapel's church, my hands buried deep within my pockets. The inside of the church seems smaller somehow than the outside, a little like the TARDIS, but in reverse. The ceiling isn't nearly as high as it should be, and the rafters are made of polished wood, not stone. I mean, I think that's kind of natural because of the walls have to be fairly thick. It's supposed to be a place of refuse. So you would have these very thick walls, the pillars and the rafters keeping everything taut together inside. So of course it would look smaller inside. The heels of my shoes thumped ponderously against the flagstone floor, scuffed and marked after being trammeled by the shoes of hundreds of churchgoers once upon a time. Not anymore. Now the church remains silent and still, perpetually open, but almost always empty. The interior of the church is a little cooler than it was outside, thanks to its thick stone walls, and it offers a brief respite from the warm summer weather. Yeah, refuge. The harsh sunlight shines through the stained glass window that looms over the font, casting rainbow patterns on the stone floor. A trail of my fingers across the top of one of the old pews, sighing. This place brings back some pretty miserable memories. Did you come to the church often, Marnie? Not that often. My grandparents used to take me and my cousins here from time to time, though. If you search the guest book, I'm sure you'll find my name written down a few times. Guest book? Yeah, it's right by the entrance on that table. It should be right here. I double back on myself, looping around one of the pews until I reach the entrance. Leah follows behind me obediently, the slight heel of her shoes, well, Aunt Lita's shoes, clacking gracelessly. I guess she still hasn't figured out how to walk in those. If she can't handle baby heels like that, I wonder how she'd fare in some of my lace-up black boots with platform wedges from Killstar. Now that might be funny to watch. You see? I paused by the low rickety table set up by the entrance. A few pamphlets about finding God, but where did he go in the first place, are stacked up on the table alongside an old leathery book that's seen better days. I peel the book open carefully as to not damage any of the delicate pages, while Leof looks over my shoulder. The lined pages in this book are yellowed from age, decorated with reams upon reams of cursive handwriting in blue, black, and even red biro. I glance through the names, addresses, and dates with a cursory eye. Luke Hamilton, unwilling prisoner, 16/8/86. I wonder if there's a story behind that. The Lothar family, Floss Lane, Fanchapel. Locals then, maybe they know Gran. Maria Howard, Miller's Inn, Fanchapel. Stephen and Junie Lennox, that'll be my aunt and uncle. I wonder if this is from their wedding. George Muse Caster. Emily Hargreaves and Peter Farmer. Blah 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 blah. Ads. Hey, Mr. No Ammo. Thank you, thank you. Uh-oh, something happened to my model. Restarting VC face. Make sure nothing is using the camera. Hold on, I'm gonna have to restart my... Okay, something happened to my camera. Hold on, I'm gonna restart VC face. There we go. Yeah, this is my V-Roid model. Kind of laggy right now, but... Guess that proves I can't just circumvent ads. Mwahaha. All the ads. I need to change the settings on that. I think they're set to every 30 minutes. I really should have like a timer to know when they're doing. Point my index finger at one of the pages and step back so Leof can get a better look. There, written in very large messy letters which wobble precariously up and down, are the words Marnie Lennox, Wren Crescent, Grimsby. Oh my, that's you. That's right, it's from 2007, so I would have been 6. That explains my awful handwriting and why I misspelled Wren and Grimsby. Remarkably enough, though, I did manage to get Crescent right. It's funny how that works. Beneath my name, which is messy and bottled with ink, I can see a few other familiar names and addresses recorded for posterity in this old book. Ruby Kirkland, Kendall Road, Emmingham, Pearl Kirkin. Okay, I'm going to skip the names. All my cousins have been immortalized down in this book. Aunt Allison's twins, and Uncle Stefan's daughter, and Uncle Jim's son. Ruby and Pearl are the only 1 year older than me. Wait, oh no, it broke again. I think it's my camera. It keeps disconnecting. I don't know if it's getting hot. It says toggling face tracking. Okay, my mouse is moving. Oh no, that's because of sound. Toggling face tracking off and on in the general settings to restart it. My camera dying? I sure hope not. I just bought that dang thing. Thank you for telling me. Ella is a couple years younger, but her handwriting looks suspiciously neat for a 3-year-old. Uncle Stefan must have written her name for her. David, meanwhile, is 6 years my senior. Olivia, only 3. These names and dates must have been written down during our Easter service with the whole Lennox family in attendance. Grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins. The only name missing on this extensive list of Lennoxes is Aunt Lita. I wonder what she's getting up to on the 21st of April 2007. Maybe she was attending a seance or reading the client's palm or making a papier-mâché bust of the deceased Princess Diana. Oh no, it broke again. Well, poop. Re-downloading VC Face and reinstalling it. Make sure nothing else is using the camera. Restarting VC Face and changing the camera settings. Well, let's try that. Recommend settings. Measuring system performance, please wait. Let me, get rid of this for a second. It's the camera. It keeps, disconnecting, and in there for a second it reconnected the, USB for the camera, and then it was saying an error with the camera. I could try USB slots. Camera settings. Start. No, and then it's just immediately gone. Might have to PNG this. We'll give it one more chance. You can never tell with Aunt Lita. She really is full of surprises. A lot of names are written in this book. Are these your family, Marnie? Only the ones in my dad's side of the family. You mean there's even more? Oh yeah, my mom's the youngest of 4 sisters. I wonder if that's why she fusses about appearances so much. Being the youngest of 4 sisters must have been hard. I bet Aunt Joyce and Aunt Caroline were always making snippy remarks about her hair or her skin or her clothes. They seemed like the type. It didn't help that Grandma Alice died so young, effectively leaving my mom at the mercy of her mostly absent father and her vicious older sisters. I have a whole load of cousins on my mom's side too, but most of them are a lot older than me. I used to hang out with my dad's side of the family more when I was young, because Ruby and Pearl and Ella are close to me in age. My parents figured that it'd be nice to have some girlfriends to play with. But I don't know if I was a very good playmate looking back on it. I was always bossing them around. Like you tried to keep me out of your bed yesterday? I had good reasons for that. Sleeping together isn't a commonly done thing, unless you're a what? I back away from Leof. Her curious eyes are so large, I'm afraid that they're going to swallow me whole. I cough awkwardly into my balled-up fists. You know what? Forget it. Well, that does not seem very fair. I cannot understand why you wish to keep your distance, so when I imagine you slept in the same bed as your cousins when you were younger. Sometimes, yeah, when Ruby and Pearl and Ella came to my house for sleepovers, but that's different. Why was that different? We're cousins, and we're like 8 years old at the time, besides. But you said I was your friend. Why can't I sleep in the same bed? I'd rather not get into it right now. Not when we're standing in the house of the Lord. It's not like I believe in the Lord or anything. I just like to think I'm not a prude, you know. But it's the principle of the thing. If my strictly religious Aunt Joyce, who despite her name isn't all that joyful, knew how my heart pounds when I talk to Leof, she'd probably have a fit. Knowing her, she'd even ask for an exorcism. I'm just glad that my own mom isn't religious. She used to go to church when she was younger, but I think Aunt Joyce's zealousness deterred her. Why don't we talk about something else? Well, if you insist. Leof looks a bit disappointed by my wishy-washy response, but at least she lets the subject drop. Thank the God I don't have all that much faith in. You really do have a lot of cousins, though. Do you still spend time with them? Not as much as I used to. We've gotten older, and we all have our own lives. But I guess we had fun together while it lasted. I used to play hide and seek with Ruby and Pearl and Ella in the woods, and we've drawn pictures together and make up stories. My stories were always grim and bloodthirsty, and I made Ella cry a couple of times. I liked going to my grandma's house when I was younger, because it meant I could play with my cousins. I wasn't a big fan of going to church, though. Maybe Aunt Lita had the right idea. She always twisted her way out of sermons, but she had no problem showing up when she was invited over for Sunday dinner. He really is a mystery. And Marnie, the violent child, she seems that way. I smile sardonically and shrug. Sorry if I'm boring you with all this. Oh no, I do not mind at all. I like hearing about your family. It sounds so different to mine. You didn't have any aunts or uncles? If I did, my father never spoke of them. After my mother died, my father and my brother were all I had left. Now, however... Leof turns away from the church's guest book and stuffed to the brim with old memories and begins to walk through the aged building. I, meanwhile, examine the old address book one last time. The book is almost a century old. The very first name recorded are the Penny and Stuart Smith's Miller's Lane, Fanchapel, and it was practically groans with the age beneath my fingers. Whole generations of families are recorded within those yellowed pages, great-grandmothers and grandfathers, husbands and children and grandchildren. Some of these people who first put pen to paper in this old book must have been dead by now. Other bodies buried in the graveyard around Fanchapel, deep beneath was the dirt. Part of me wants to check, but that sounds like a dismal treasure hunt. Doing that would depress me. It might be better to let sleeping memories lie. I close the book. I swear I can hear it groan with age. I turn about following Leof between the two rows of scuffed pews. Leof is standing still, staring up at the stained glass window. Her lips are pursed, one hand on her chest. She sounds like she's praying, but for what, I have no idea. Is she still thinking about her brother? Any for your thoughts? I beg your pardon? I mean, what's on your mind? You look kind of serious. It is nothing, really. It's nothing more than a silly superstition of mine, but I just thought the design of the stained glass window feels strangely familiar. Really? I examined the window, scanning its brightly colored glass for anything of note. I've stared at the glass dozens of times during my childhood. It's by far the most interesting thing in this church, and it always caught my attention when I was marooned on the pews, bored out of my skull, and incredibly uncomfortable. Okay, I'm gonna save. And then I'm gonna be right back. I am going to go use the restroom.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Thank you for the redeems. Yeah, I'm back. But for information's sake, the reason, because both my stream starting screen and the BRB screen are animated.
Do it for you. Midnight, do it
For you.
When all I do is for you. Curly.
Yeah, but I found that whenever I played the animations for my starting and BRB screens, it, my CPU jumps up like 20-25%, so I have to pause it. I'm glad y'all are enjoying the sound alerts. The design shows that appears to be a knight in silver armor riding on a white horse holding a spear above his head. The fierce dragon faces the knight down, its green scales glistening like sunbeams. Its jaws are open, revealing rows of sharp fangs, and its yellow eyes are narrowed in disdain. For a church, I always thought this scene was unusually, for want of a better word, cool. It's certainly more interesting than the scene from the Last Supper or Jesus' death. I distinctly remember tugging on my mother's arm when I was young, asking her excitedly if there really were dragons in the Bible. If so, the child in me often pondered if I might actually read some of it. Spoilers, I never did. I don't know if there are many dragons in the Bible, dear. You'll have to ask your Aunt Joyce. And what's this picture meant to mean then? Then what's this picture meant to mean? What's the story is it from? I'm not entirely sure, but I think it might be St. George. I took this explanation at face value when my mother handed it to me, and I rattled it off anew to the curious Leof. St. George? Who is that? I don't know, some religious old guy probably. And he's slayed this dragon. He slayed this dragon? It sure looks like it. Huh. Leof purses her lips and thought. When I was younger, I heard stories of a Saint Theodore who slayed a dragon in Uchita. Perhaps the two stories merged? Perhaps they did. The two of us look back at the scene depicted in the window. The saints hold this holy lance aloft, ready to plunge it deep within the dragon's heart. For a piece of supposedly Christian propaganda, it's pretty gruesome. I wonder why this scene has been depicted at the church of all places. It's St. George and the dragon. Is that a bad thing? No, of course not. I hardly mean to dismiss the work of an expert artisan, but it's quite the unusual scene to display in a place of worship, particularly when it is the only scene that was given its own window. You would think the craftsman would have chosen to depict a well more known scene, such as Jesus' birth or his death. Well, what do I know? I am no artist myself. All I can do is fight. Maybe this is why this window speaks to me so. Might be my imagination, but that white horse looks just like my own Mapinos. Maybe the knight's Edward. The pair of us leave the church when the sun has reached its peak in the cloudless sky. It's sweltering hot, and I sigh as I brush a few damp strands of hair behind my ear. Maybe be better if we stayed in the church, but something about it seems to have put Leof in a strange mood. She isn't smiling nearly as much as I've grown used to. Her expression is unusually dour. I wonder what she's thinking about. We crossed the graveyard, skirting around the distinctive cross-shaped tombstone and a row of small child-sized graves made for those who died before they were reached double digits. There's a bridge, but it does little to alleviate the scorching heat. The wind itself is warm. Take another drink. Sorry, I was muting for a sec. We're supposed to be in England. The weather shouldn't be this hot. You should be careful, my lady. You are so fair you might get burned. I know that, thanks very much. That's one of the main reasons why I always try to weasel my way out of PE and sports day. My complexion is frighteningly pale, and on sunny days like this, I don't tan nut brown like the self-appointed queen of John Whitgift's, Leona Davies. I turn pink. It's pretty embarrassing, actually. How can I be goth when I look like a knockoff Peppa Pig? You should stay in my shadow, my lady. I shall shield you from this weather. How very kind of you. What a gentleman. Seriously though, this is such a drag. I don't know if I need to wear sunscreen before I stepped outside. It wasn't this hot this morning. Maybe I should have checked the weather forecast. Forecast? It tells you what the weather's going to be for the next few days. Oh, you mean like an oracle? I guess so, but it isn't always accurate. Mom shoved an umbrella and an old anorak I've never once worn in my bag before she bundled me off to grounds. She thought it was going to rain. Oracles are not always accurate either. That is part of their mystique. Heh, good point. The undergrowth rustles in the distance. I can see a few rabbits from the corner of my eye, their nose twitching as they nibble at a few dried out dandelions leaves near the base of the oak tree. Even the rabbits look worn out. Their ears are drooping and they snuffle about their food lethargically. I don't feel hungry either. It's almost lunchtime. Leof seems to have an inexhaustible appetite regardless of the weather. I wonder if she's wants to go back. Perhaps a promise of homemade bread and thick slices of honey Wiltshire ham can shake her out of this funk. Hey, Leof? I turn to my companion, ready to ask her opinion, but Leof isn't standing beside me. Instead, she's a few paces back next to the stone angel with half a face. Her eyes are wide, and she's staring at something a little beyond my shoulder. What could she be looking at? What's wrong? Behind you, I turn, but I can't see anything. There's just a few more lonely graves half hidden behind the withered fruit and the oak trees lying in the churchyard. I frown. Is this going to turn into a pantomime routine? He's behind you. Oh no, he isn't. Oh yes, he is. I've never really liked pantomimes, even when I was a kid. The slapstick comedy made me roll my eyes, and I thought the pantomime dames and their painted face, stuffed shirts, and exaggerated mannerisms were unnerving. I don't think Leof's the sort who would play tricks on me, though. She seems too earnest for that. What then? What is she seeing that I can't? I swear to God, if she looks back at the mushrooms. Maybe that's what's wrong with her now. She grabbed the mushrooms and now she's having a weird trip. I squint, trying to see beyond the sky and the trees and the midges hovering in the soupy air. My fingers find Grand's pendant, which she's stashed behind my skirt pocket. Ah. The moment my fingers brush against the cool stone, a donut, I hiss. For some reason, the necklace feels incredibly cold. Pinpricks of ice embed themselves beneath my fingernail. I can feel them worming their way through my digits, the palm of my hands, and up my arms. I'm almost tempted to believe this is a delusion, but no. When I raise my trembling hand to my face, I see that the tips of my fingers are turning blue. What in the world? And the moment these surprised words fall from my lips... Okay, I'll pause again. Why are there so many ads? I mean, it is about 30 minutes later, I guess. Waiting on the ads. Honestly, I wish I could just turn off the ads altogether, but... Oh, done. Ads done. Necklace. Yeah, just in case you missed it, she, Leof said that she saw something behind Marnie, told her to turn around, and then Marnie looked back, and then couldn't see anything, but she noticed that something fell off in her pocket with the pendant, and whenever she reached in, it started encasing her fingers in ice and turning her fingers blue. Not sure yet. I think we're gonna find out. I don't know what voice to give him. I wish they would at least do, like, in parentheses, male or female or something. My, I'm surprised you discovered me so easily, though I suppose you had a bit of help. That curious necklace of yours seemed to react to being such as myself, and then, of course, there's your little companion to consider. I grit my teeth together. If I don't, I'm afraid they'll start to chatter. I recognize that voice, though I can't locate the speaker. That's the voice I heard yesterday. Yes, indeed I am. We have met once before, though it was not under very felicitous circumstances. It's a pleasure to see you again, my dear. When I first heard this voice, I thought there was some annoying kid from Friend Chapel trying to prank me. But now I know better. This is no joke. It must be magic. Yes, indeed. Fen Chapel is a small village of little note, but its streets are imbued with mystical powers. Yeah, probably female, and probably squeaky, because she was thinking it was a kid. So maybe I should change the voice. I wonder how squeaky I can go. Sorry, I was taking a drink before I attempted. This girl who should not be here yet is proof enough of that. Enough of these riddles. Why don't you show yourself already? If you're so high and mighty, it's rude to talk to somebody while they're hiding your face. Oh. So, you mean to speak of manners, do you? How amusing for a girl whose foul language yesterday could have curdled the air. In case you haven't noticed, I was lost. I wasn't exactly in the mood to play along with your stupid games. Let me know if the voice is too annoying or something. And Mimi, I am not in the mood to show you my face. As I am not a human, I am under no obligation to adhere to your so-called manners, but just this once. I suppose I can entertain you. I would not want you thinking I'm a coward now. I have nothing to hide. With this aloof statement, the air before me seems to ripple somehow, as though I'm surveying the scenes through a fine, watery film. The trees that line the graveyard and the scattered tombstones in the bright blue sky, they all shift and mutate, wrenching themselves apart at the seams to reveal... Oh, she's kind of cute. A woman. She's sitting in the boughs of a tall oak tree, one leg folded over the other. She has very long silver hair, the same color as snow, and similarly pale skin. Her waist is cinched by a laced-up corset, and her sleeves are fringed with black lace that look almost like a bird's feather. Her sleeves are so long that they obscure her fingers, and she's wearing a hood on her face, pulled low so her eyes are lost in shadow. I can still see the bottom of her face, however, a gash of eerily white skin against a black backdrop, with a pair of bright red lips. I don't know who this woman is, but but something about her makes me feel uneasy, not in the least because she appeared out of nowhere. She said she isn't human. Maybe she is a fairy. A big fairy. I was picturing like a itty-bitty lady. I can tell at a single glance that this woman isn't human. She must instead be a witch? Well, if that's what you want to call me, I will not argue. I have been called such in the past, though I had hoped you could think of something a bit more original. Oh well. Yeah, I'm getting the voices mixed up because of question marks. Witch, enchantress, or temptress, it is all the same to me, as if you would care to know my real name. Your real name? Actually, that voice is really hard to do. Especially switch back to Marnie's winter flashbang. I stare at the woman in black, mouth agape. For some reason, I never thought she could have a real name. The concept seems too dull and ordinary for somebody so obviously unusual. Indeed, I have one. Of course I do. Why do I look surprised? The woman grins. I am Lynette, like the birds, you know, but it's spelled differently. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance once more, Marnie. I stare at the witch. No, her name is Lynette, with blank surprise. What should I say to her? I have no idea. It was easier to hurl insults when I couldn't see her, but now that she's real as a fairy tale construct like a witch can be, surprisingly hard to say anything. Maybe she cast a spell on me. Have I been rendered mute? Oh dear, I knew this would happen. People are always struck dumb by my presence. It is so much easier to hide myself away. It makes conversation more interesting, particularly when the other part has no idea who or what I am. The fear is even sweeter than honey. Lynette sighs and shakes her head. You see, you seemed quite the fiery young girl when I first encountered you. I had high hopes for you, but it seems you have lost much of your spark. What a pity. I only hope your companion will prove to be more amusing diversion. Leof, did you say your name was? Leof stares at the witch silently. Since Lynette first appeared, she hasn't said a single word, but her expression is taut. I've never seen Leof pull such a face before, and it takes me a few moments to place it. She looks angry. No, just not just angry, incensed. Who are you? Who are you, and how do you know what my name is? Do not tell me that you've been watching us. And what if I have? There is precious little to do in Fanchapel, and I have been alive for needlessly long time. A woman such as myself must take her entertainment where she can. You are a most interesting thing that has happened in this dreary village for hundreds of years. Why, you... Leof's fingers reach for the hilt of her sword. Though she's dressed in Aunt Lita's cast-off clothes, her sword answers her summons as all the same, appearing in her fingers with a flash of ghostly light. What a dirty, underhanded trick. I shall not forgive you for that. You have invaded my lady's privacy, and for that you shall pay. Oh, shall I? I shall I? How amusing. Lynette, for her part, doesn't look particularly unnerved by Leof's threats. She giggles. It has been hundreds of years, and yet you still are playing at being a knight. Do you not think you are a bit too old for these pretenses? It was charming when you were young, but now you are an adult. You should give it up before you embarrass yourself any further. I am not playing at being anything. I am a real knight, and it is my duty to protect my lady's honor. But what about me? Am I not a lady too? You might look like a lady, but I know you're that to be a ruse. You're a wicked witch, and you mean to do us harm. That much is obvious. Now come down here and face me. I will teach you a lesson. With that dull blade, please. I doubt you can even scratch me. Would you like to test that? Not particularly. I deplore violence. It is most unseemly, and you have always been such a sore loser. I would not want to make you cry again. But what do you mean? You talk as though you know me. But that cannot be. I am sure I have never seen somebody like you before. I do not doubt that, my dear, but I am rather familiar with you and your convenient delusions. I had hoped these intervening centuries may have knocked some sense into that empty head of yours, but I suppose not. Well, what do I expect? Those of your family have always been demandingly stubborn. My family? Does that mean you know my brother? What if I do? My brother, he... Leof's fingers tighten around the hilt of her sword. He is the only family I have left, but now he does not recognize me. He claimed I was a demon and tried to kill me. He is not right in the head. He must be sick. Somebody whispered sweet lies into his ears and he fell into a thrall. Was that your fault too, vile witch? Did you put a pet spell on him? Ah, if I could say I did. If only to see the look on your face. But unfortunately, I cannot take the blame for his current behavior. Your brother is cursed, yet. Yes, but it was not by my hand. And who did it? It is not a case of who, but of what. This place has not been right for many centuries. A curse cast upon its place more than 1,000 years ago, and its effects can still be felt to this day. Dozens of lost souls attracted to the dense magical energy in the air have gathered in the nearby forest, but they soon found themselves unable to leave. We cannot truly live, but we cannot truly die either. Tied to this village and the forest that surrounds it, we cannot even escape. All we can do is hope that somebody will put things right. What? If you want to put things right, does that mean you're not my enemy? Indeed, if you catch on rather quickly. Perhaps I was too quick to judge you, if only the same could be said of your friend. You shan't get anywhere by pointing swords at me. Killing me will hardly bring your brother back. That might be so, but I have no reason to believe a single word you have said to me. For all I know, this could be an elaborate ruse. Okay, I don't know how much longer is on this story. We're going on 2 hours. Maybe I'll save again